So yes, I'm an RC car guy. I've been driving RC cars for over 35 years, but every once in a while, I do like to go out and drive a fast electric boat. And look what we just got into the workshop here. This is the ProBoat Sonicwake, and this looks like it's going to be very fast. In fact, on the box, it says it goes 50 miles an hour. And it comes out of the box just like this. It's ready to run. All you have to do is pick up some batteries, a charger, and you're ready to go. It's got a lot of exciting features in it, so let's bring it over to the other workbench and we could talk about some of the details. All right, so first up, the Sonicwake is a deep V style of hull, so it's going to work a bit better in rougher waters. Now, this boat has a great look to it overall. The ABS hull really nicely formed and joined together right here. There's a seam that goes along the edge here, joined really well together. And then it's got this really cool graphics package on it. I really like the way it looks. Shows a bit of a sonic boom in the graphic set itself. And it's got the ProBoat logo up top, Dynamite logo, Horizon logos. And it also comes in a different color set as well. I went for the white. It kind of looked more like a real boat to me, so that's why I went with this one. But overall, just a very cool look. Let's check out the bottom really quick. Here is that V-hull design. Got these strakes here that help lift the boat out of water when you're getting up to speed. And just a great shape to the bottom. And then up here on top, you can see these holes. But before I get to the holes, let me talk to you about the hatch. So here's the hatch that allows you to access everything on the inside of the boat. The hatch itself, again, ABS molded plastic. It does have a piece of foam glued to the bottom already. That's always a bonus, just in case this thing flies off. Maybe you forget to screw it down, and if it lands in the water, it floats, so you don't have to try diving after it. But it does have the 4 thumb screws to screw it down nice and securely. On the inside of the hull here is some foam padding, so when you go and tighten that hatch down, it helps seal everything off. But now onto these holes. This is a self-righting hull. So when this boat flips over, it's going 50 miles an hour, it's gonna happen. These holes will help fill up this chamber right here with water, and it will help self-right the boat. And here is the exit holes for the water to release once that you do flip it back over. But this is a great feature for those of you that are going out and just ripping on this thing, and you're going to flip over, and rather than going out in a canoe or something like that to retrieve it, you'll be able to just flip it back over and continue on with just wasting a few seconds of time. So that is pretty awesome right there. So really nice hull. The feel of the hull is pretty good. They use a nice thick ABS on this, so there is not a lot of flex to this hull. So that means it should just be nice and fast, and it shouldn't be any sort of erratic handling. So now it's time to check out the inside of the hull. It kind of looks like I'm playing a guitar here, huh? But inside is really well laid out. Really nice design. I like how they've got like this module here for where the electronics go, and then they got a battery tray up towards the front, which will hold up to 6S worth of batteries in this thing. So let me start out at the front. Since I'm talking about the battery tray, we've got these battery straps to help hold the battery packs down. I have 2 3S packs that I'm going to use in here, and they also give you some Velcro in the accessories bag to help secure it so it doesn't slide forward and backwards. But these Velcro straps look like they're going to do a good job. Right in front of it, there is some more foam, so if for some reason this thing does take on too much water, it will float. The nose will stay afloat above water, and you'll be able to retrieve it. All right, so a bit farther back here now is that electronics tray. There's the Dynamite 120 amp marine speed controller. This is a water-cooled speed controller. There is a water pickup, let's see, right here on the rudder, and then it spits out on this side of the boat, but it will also cool the motor in the same process. But that's a really heavy-duty looking ESC. We've got these EC5 connectors on there, so we'll be able to handle the power that you're going to throw at this thing. And then right behind it is the 1900 kV 4-pole Dynamite motor. Pretty large can on this thing, and then it's got the water cooling jacket on the outside. Really large tubing on here as well, so it'll get that water flowing through it. This thing is getting kind of heavy. So right next to the motor towards the back is the 605 Spectrum servo, kind of their standard servo. We'll see if it does the job here. Boats do require a high torque servo, but not crazy torque servos like an A-scale Truggy or something like that. So this should work out well. And that connects to the Spectrum Marine receiver that mates up with the STX2 radio that I'm going to show you in a little bit. But this receiver is also waterproof. It actually has little pigtails to plug everything in versus plugging your plugs directly into the receiver. And then the antenna sticks out through this rubber grommet, and of course they give you an antenna tube for that. But I really like how they went and wired everything. Everything is nicely laid out. They even secure the signal lead from the servo in the boat. So just some extra detail was put into this boat. I really like it. Even the switch is mounted. Sometimes the switch is just flopping around in some ready-to-run boats. So again, they definitely paid a lot of attention to the details on this thing. All right, now let's move to the transom where all of our running hardware is, and I'm going to put this thing down because my arm is just about to give out. So let's start off with the fins. We've got knife edge fins on both sides, and then we've got trim tabs right below those. And you could, of course, go and bend these if you want to adjust the ride attitude a little bit. What I also noticed out back here is they do have a drain plug, so you can pop that out. Any water that gets in the hull, you could easily just drain it from that hole versus shaking the boat upside down. And then to steer it, we do have an aluminum rudder here. Got a nice knife edge to that as well. And again, it has the water pickup to help feed the electronics. Even the arm on the rudder is aluminum, and of course the mount is aluminum. And what I noticed is they have bushings to help everything ride smooth, and they even have a breakaway nylon retaining bolt. So if you do run this thing aground, the nylon retaining bolt will snap rather than damaging your running hardware, which is always great to see. It's much cheaper to replace a nylon bolt than to go and replace your running aluminum running hardware on here. Then we have the aluminum strut, really nicely machined, black anodized, and that secures the stuffing tube, which has your prop shaft coming out of the back of it. We've got a metal prop on this. Pretty sharp edge to it for a stock out of the box ready to run boat, and simple drive dog and retaining nut to hold that in. It does have a small nylon bushing in here, and of course it has the nylon stuffing tube that the flex shaft spins in. So this is a flex shaft driven boat. It is a pretty straight shot out through the back, so there should be minimal deflection there, even though it is a flex shaft. And then the flex shaft goes into the boat and mates up with a crush collet that comes off of the motor. So pretty simple setup. The motor looks really well secured inside this composite housing here. There is a little bit of adjustability. If you have to go and maintain things, take things out, should be pretty easy to pull that apart. But that's really the makeup of this boat. Pretty simple and looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. They definitely stuffed a lot of power into this thing. It's definitely going to be a blast when it's out there on the water. Let me show you what else it comes with really quick. So it does come with the Spectrum STX2 radio system. Pretty basic radio system. I do like it. I actually put one of these into another boat that I have just because it works really well. It has all of the basic functions that you're going to need trim function wise to straighten this thing out and adjust the trim. And then we have our bag of accessories here. So it's got your instruction manual in there. It's got that Velcro I told you about and the antenna tube. Also has 4 AA batteries and a bind plug. So the only thing that you're going to need for this is either two 2S battery packs or two 3S battery packs to power it, and of course a charger. All right, so that wraps up the features. Now let's go outside and run this thing. I need to see how high the roost goes off the Sonicwake. Man, the Sonicwake is just a monster on the water. This thing has a ton of power and it is an absolute blast to drive. I took it actually to 3 different locations just to have some fun with it in different spots, and each and every time it's just a blast. It's a rocket out there. It rips across the water and actually handles pretty well in rough water as well. So first up, I went over to this place called Lake Lonoa, and there it's a huge open spot for me to go and run it around. And so threw it out there and pulled the trigger, and this thing is pretty fast. Now it does take a little bit of time to get up on plane. It is a pretty heavy boat, especially when you load this thing up with 6S. So it's got that weight to get up and out of the water, but once it does, it is a rocket. It's just rips across the water, riding on the rear pad of the boat, and it's just really cool to watch. It throws up a big roost of water. It's a blast overall. Now, when going through the turns, if you turn too tight at full throttle, you chance rolling it over, but it's predictable to where you could see it kind of losing a bit of control, and you could back out of it and still maintain control without rolling this thing over. So I do like the way this handles, the way it drives. I think you're in a lot of control over this boat. But you can go through some pretty fast turns as long as they're pretty wide turns. And in that spot where I was driving, it was. So it was just a blast to kind of just do wide open full throttle rips with it. And, you know, when I got out past the cove I was in, the water was a bit rougher and it still maintained a pretty good attitude. Now, a lot of it is dependent on where you position the batteries inside the boat. So my first run out, I actually had the batteries all the way forward, which makes the boat handle a bit better through the rough stuff, but it does, you know, take away a little bit of your top speed. So after you know, just running it that way, you know, really enjoying how it went through the rough stuff, I went and moved the batteries back and ran it through smoother water, and that's when this thing just really rips. So you have that tuning option there, you know, as you do with a lot of boats, but it is very reactive to the way you position the batteries. So, you know, again, if the water is a bit rougher, maybe move your batteries forward and enjoy the boat that way. And if you got some nice smooth stuff for high-speed passes, move it a bit farther back. The water cooling seemed to work just fine, except for one time. I did get a stick jammed into the hole that's in the rudder for the water pickup, and that actually cut down pretty much all of the cooling. When I pulled the hatch off, there's a lot of steam coming out of the boat, but I didn't fry the motor. It was pretty hot, but not to the point where it was fatal for the boat. Let everything cool down, went back out, removed the stick, and the water cooling's fine. Just keep an eye on the exit, the water exit where it comes out, and make sure that there's water flowing out of there at all times. Again, the steering works really well. A little bit on the sluggish side, you know, when you're bench testing this thing, but it seems to translate well out there on the water. I did run it actually up onto some rocks, and I bent the tips of the prop. So some of that video footage you saw there was the boat was cavitating because I think it had the bent tips on there, but it still actually got up on plane. So even, you know, with that little bit of a problem, it was still a beast of a boat out there. But beyond the issue with the prop, you know, no damage to the hull or anything like that. The self-righting feature does work as it's advertised. Actually works really well. It takes a few seconds for the pod to fill up before the boat flips over, and then you could take off again. But much easier than rowing out in a canoe and you know, retrieving the boat that way. As you can probably tell, I love the Sonicwake. I had a great time with it, and I think it's just a fast, fun, and easy to use RC boat. Alright, if you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button and the notifications bell, and throw the video a like if you want to see more boats here on the channel in the future.